Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with boil and bake baby back ribs. That's right, this is going to upset some people who think it's just insanity to boil ribs. And to those people I say, you're probably right. But anyway, we'll explain all that in the blog post. But for now, I'm just going to show you my version, which was for a hot 5-spice flavored baby back rib. So step one here, we need some flavorful liquid to boil our ribs in. I'm going to go with some cold water, garlic, onion, bay leaves, lots of red pepper flakes, a good amount of salt, and some Chinese 5-spice powder. All right, we're going to put that on high heat and bring that up to temperature. I'm also going to add a big giant splash of rice wine vinegar. So this is almost sort of like a hot brine type thing. So bring this entire mixture up to a simmer over high heat. When it looks like that, I want you to back the heat down so it's just simmering. Okay, so while our 5-spice broth is simmering, I'm going to go ahead and prep 1 slab of baby back ribs, which we have right here. By the way, I'm sure this will work with spare ribs too, but I'm using the baby back. All right, we're going to flip it over and talk about this side for a second because some people are insane with the membrane. There's like a thin membrane that runs on top of that bone side, and some people have you peel that off. I don't. I just take my knife and run it along the back there, sort of slicing up that membrane, which I believe pretty much does nothing, but it makes me feel better. All right, after that, we're going to slice up this rack into individual ribs. It's really easy to feel where the bone and flesh is. So it's very simple to go between the bones. The problem is when you get to the front, the side facing you right now, there's like a strip of bone that's kind of tough to get through sometimes. And what ends up happening is I get impatient and I just pound it and it goes right through, which is fine. That technique will work. The problem is you're risking little bone fragments. So if you can, take your time and try to find the spaces between those bones so you're really not having to cut through bone if you can avoid it. If you can't, no problem. Get through it any way you can. But bottom line, you want to separate all those ribs. And from 1 slab of baby back ribs, you're going to get about 12 or 13 pieces. All right, once our ribs are sectioned, we're going to go ahead and drop them into our simmering hot and spicy 5-spice broth. And as soon as that comes back to a simmer, which is just going to take a few minutes, I want you to adjust the flame so you're at a nice gentle simmer and set your timer for 1 hour. So we're going to simmer these ribs for 1 hour. And yes, this is false advertising. It's not really boiled and baked. It's actually simmered and baked. It just doesn't have the same alliterational excitement that boil and bake has. All right, while those are simmering for an hour, I'm going to go ahead and prep our glaze. This could be any sauce, literally. So my glaze is going to consist of soy sauce, rice vinegar, sambal chili paste, Dijon mustard, some ketchup, some honey, and brown sugar, and then another hit of that 5-spice powder. All right, I'm going to whisk that up, and my glaze is pretty much ready. All right, and like I said, you can use any glaze for this. So whatever your favorite sauce recipe is, you could just substitute it here. Of course, altering the flavors in your braising liquid accordingly. All right, 1 hour later, our ribs are going to look like this. They're definitely not going to be falling off the bone. All right, they're not necessarily going to be fork tender either. They're just going to be ready for the next step, which is you pulling them out and throwing them into your bowl of sauce. You're going to want to toss those ribs. I suggest the venerable spoonula for this operation. Of course, if you want to make a big mess, flip them like this, and they will splash all over. By the way, you're going to have some extra sauce at the bottom of the mixing bowl. Do not throw it away. We're going to use that to glaze the ribs halfway through. All right, once those are coated, I'm going to go ahead and transfer those onto my baking sheet that I lined with a Silpat. Those are going to go in a 375-degree oven for 15 minutes, but that's only half the cooking time. And after 15 minutes, they really don't look like they're doing much, but don't worry. Pull them out. You're going to flip them, and you're going to paint on a little extra sauce, put them back in for 15 more minutes, and then we got something, okay? So this has been a half hour. They're looking pretty beautiful. You could serve them like this, but you know what? I had a little more glaze in my bowl, so I painted them one more time. When it comes to glaze, I'm greedy. It's actually called glaze greed. I have that. All right, so I painted some more on. I put them back in for just 3 or 4 more minutes, and then I piled them up and served them, and they were fantastic. I know many of you don't believe me because you're thinking there's no way you could boil ribs, bake them, and have them come out decent. Well, before you call me an idiot, you should probably try it first. And for a shortcut method, I think these really do have a great texture. It is moist, it is tender, but it's not just falling right off the bone. You actually have to put your teeth into it, and it feels good. That aromatic 5-spice is just under the surface, really great background flavor. the heat from the chili flakes and the sambal, the sweet and sour tang of the glaze. Just a great bite of rib. Like I said, I don't expect anyone to believe this method works unless they actually try it. Which reminds me, I hope you give this a try. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more information, as usual. And as always, enjoy.